Hello everyone, and welcome to Cold Blood Files, where we uncover chilling true crime cases, where evil hides in plain sight beneath a calm and beautiful surface. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine, you're in Hawaii, a tropical paradise with crystal clear waters, endless stretches of white sand, the salty breeze in the air, and palm trees swaying gently under the golden sun. But in the blink of an eye, this dreamlike setting can turn into the scene of a horrifying crime. In April 2007, Masumi Watanabe, a young woman from Japan, vanished without a trace on a sunny morning. No goodbyes, no clear signs of where she went. Just weeks later, police arrested a local man, Kirk Lankford, someone who, on the surface, seemed entirely ordinary. But what investigators found inside his pickup truck turned this into one of the most haunting criminal cases in Hawaii's history. Behind his claim of, "It was just an accident," lay contradictions, chilling gaps, and one question that still haunts both nations: where has Masumi's body been all these years? Join us on Cold Blood Files as we dive deep into every detail of this case, from that fateful morning, through the tense investigation, to the courtroom drama that shocked two countries. And along the way, you might just find yourself asking, what is the real truth? Part 1, Masumi Watanabe, a small girl on a big island. Masumi Watanabe was born in 1986 in a quiet town in Japan. As the only daughter in the family, she grew up in the protective embrace of her parents, raised with both love and high hopes. Masumi wasn't just pretty, with bright eyes and a gentle smile, she was known for her kindness. Friends described her as the type of person who would stop to help an elderly neighbor carry groceries, or give a stray cat a bit of food. She came to Hawaii with a simple goal: to improve her English, experience a new culture, and savor the freedom of her youth. Her family believed this peaceful island would be safe, a place where the endless beaches and blue skies would shelter their daughter. In her first days on Oahu, Masumi adapted quickly. She lived with a warm, welcoming local host family, made friends with neighbors, and often took walks along the coastal road to enjoy the scenery. For a girl from the land of the rising sun, the salty breeze of the Pacific Ocean felt like pure happiness. On the morning of April 12, 2007, Masumi followed her usual routine, a small backpack over her shoulders, a light jacket, walking along the familiar road near Pupukea. A few neighbors saw her that morning and smiled in greeting. "Good morning, Masumi," one called out. She turned back, smiling, and replied in English with a hint of her Japanese accent. "Good morning. See you later." No one knew that would be the last time they saw her. As the sun climbed higher and the waves crashed harder against the cliffs, Masumi vanished. No one heard a cry for help. No trace, no phone call. Whispers began in the neighborhood. Maybe she went sightseeing, someone guessed. But as the sky dimmed and she didn't return, concern rose like the tide. Her host family immediately contacted police. Search teams were deployed. Locals, friends, and even tourists joined in, combing the shoreline, checking rocky crevices, and pushing through roadside brush. But every effort came up empty. One neighbor recalled, "She's not the kind of person to just disappear without saying anything. Masumi always left a message." This wasn't normal. In the small, tight-knit community of Oahu, the disappearance of a young woman from another country wasn't just news, it was a shockwave. And soon, worry turned into suspicion. Who was the last person to see Masumi? And what happened to her on that quiet coastal road? Part 2, when the name Kirk Lankford surfaces. The search for Masumi Watanabe stretched into the third day, but still there was no sign of her. Police began widening the investigation, combing through even the smallest clues. Every witness was re-interviewed, every security camera in the area reviewed frame by frame. Then, an unexpected detail emerged. A local resident reported seeing Masumi that morning, near a dark green pickup truck. "I'm not entirely sure, but I think she was talking to the driver," the witness recalled. This information quickly made its way to the investigative team. The license plate was tracked down. The truck belonged to Kirk Matthew Lankford, 23 years old, a pest control worker for a local company. On paper, Lankford looked like an ordinary young man, no prior criminal record, married, punctual at work. But when police went to speak with him, his answers raised eyebrows. In the first interview, Lankford was unnervingly calm. When asked if he had seen Masumi that morning, he responded slowly, "I don't remember. I left for work early, maybe I passed someone on the road, but I'm not sure." Investigators didn't let it slide. They requested to search his pickup truck. And that's when the story began to shift. Inside, they found several personal items belonging to Masumi, a sandal, a pair of glasses, and most tellingly, a small blood stain on the truck's floor. There were also scratch marks and strange smudges on the passenger seat. Later DNA tests confirmed it was Masumi Watanabe's blood. One officer recalled that moment. "We knew we had a crucial piece of the puzzle. The question wasn't, did Lankford meet Masumi, anymore. It was, what did he do to her?" Confronted with the evidence, Lankford changed his story. He now claimed he had accidentally hit Masumi with his truck while she was walking. Panicked, he said, he put her in the truck, but she died on the way. Overcome with fear, he admitted to disposing of her body in the ocean. But this statement was riddled with holes. Police asked, "Why didn't you call for help immediately? Why were there signs she had been moved multiple times inside the truck? And why, despite exhaustive searches, was no body ever found?" Another witness remembered seeing Lankford's truck parked on a deserted stretch of road near a cliff that same day, just a few kilometers from where Masumi usually walked. The image sent chills through the community. Was this the place where the nightmare happened? Lankford continued to insist it was just an accident. But to the people of Oahu, the disappearance of a gentle Japanese girl, combined with the vague words of a young man, turned the case into a storm of suspicion. Police knew that if they wanted to take Lankford to court and secure a conviction, they needed more than blood and inconsistent statements. They would have to assemble every fragment of the story, no matter how small, to paint the full picture of what really happened that morning. Part 3, the investigation descends into darkness. The moment police found blood and personal belongings of Masumi Watanabe inside Kirk Lankford's pickup truck, no one on the team believed this was just a missing person case anymore. From that point forward, the investigation switched fully into hunting for a killer. One no body, the battle starts at zero. What made this case especially difficult was that Masumi's body was nowhere to be found. In criminal investigations, a body is not only proof of death, but also the victim's final diary, containing traces of the perpetrator, the cause of death, and the sequence of events leading to it. Here, investigators had nothing but scattered fragments. A veteran officer summed it up. "We had to reconstruct an entire story, without ever reading the last page." They started by examining every centimeter of Lankford's truck. Under ultraviolet light, faint stains began to glow like scattered puzzle pieces. A dried blood spot near the passenger door was carefully swabbed. A tiny fiber lodged in the seat seam was collected. And most intriguingly, tiny grains of sand scattered on the floor caught their attention. 2 footprints in seashore sand. Police brought in a marine geologist to analyze the sand samples. The results were telling. This wasn't a fine, golden sand of tourist beaches, but a darker, coarse mix of coral fragments, typical of the rocky shorelines and cliffs of Oahu's North Shore. These places were remote, hard to reach, and most importantly, at the base of these cliffs, the sea churned violently. The expert remarked, "If someone wanted to dispose of something into the ocean, these spots would be close to perfect." 3. Lankford, the awkward liar. In his first interrogation, Lankford was unnervingly calm. He denied knowing Masumi, claiming that he simply went to work that morning. But when police cross-checked his phone's location data, a glaring 2-hour gap appeared, precisely during the time Masumi vanished. By the second interrogation, his story began to shift, at times claiming Masumi was conscious after the collision, at others saying she was unconscious immediately. When asked why he didn't call for help, Lankford lowered his head and muttered, "I was afraid of being misunderstood." The investigator pressed, "Misunderstood is one thing. But why is her blood in your truck? Why are her belongings there? And why were you in the cliff area that day?" Lankford stayed silent, eyes fixed on the table. For a witness from the sea. The turning point came when a fisherman called the police station. He recounted that on the day Masumi disappeared, around midday, he saw a dark green pickup truck parked dangerously close to a cliff's edge. A tall man stood there for a long time, repeatedly looking down at the ocean. The fisherman remembered vividly. His eyes, they weren't the eyes of someone enjoying the view. They were heavy, like he was deciding whether to throw something away. When shown Lankford's photo, the fisherman immediately confirmed it was the same man. 5. The suffocating interrogation. That day in the interrogation room, the air was thick with tension, broken only by the steady hum of a fan. 2 detectives sat across from Lankford, placing in front of him an evidence bag containing Masumi's sandal, found under his passenger seat. "Look at this, Kirk. This belongs to the missing girl. Where is she? What did you do to her?" Lankford licked his lips, breathing heavily, still avoiding their gaze. 1 minute passed. Then 2. Finally, he spoke softly. "I didn't want this to happen." The 2 detectives exchanged a sharp glance. They knew he had just admitted something happened. 6. A half confession. After hours of mental chess, Lankford finally admitted to taking Masumi's body to the ocean and letting it sink. But he insisted it was the result of a traffic accident, claiming she died on the way as he tried to find help. For police, it was progress, but not enough. Few believed the accident narrative. The scattered pieces of evidence were slowly forming a hazy picture, with Kirk Lankford standing squarely at its center. At this point, the investigation wasn't just about finding justice for Masumi, it was a race against time, before the ocean washed away what little truth remained. Part 4, The Showdown in Court. In April 2008, after nearly a year of collecting evidence, police and prosecutors officially closed the investigation file and charged Kirk Lankford with first-degree murder. The case now moved to a new battlefield, the courtroom, where truth and lies clashed in every single word. Prosecution, tightening the noose. Lead prosecutor John Anderson knew they faced a major problem. There was no victim's body. That meant every piece of evidence had to be sharpened to convince the jury that Masumi was dead, and that Lankford was responsible. His plan came in 3 strikes. 1. Physical traces, blood, personal items, and distinctive beach sand. 2. Suspicious behavior, shifting statements, missing time gaps, and a cliffside witness. 3. Indirect confession, vague but weighty statements made during interrogation. He gathered detectives, forensic experts, and even a fisherman witness, rehearsing their testimonies until every piece fit like a perfect puzzle on the stand. "We're not just telling the truth, we have to make them see it," Anderson reminded the team. Defense, planting seeds of doubt. On the other side, Lankford's defense attorney, David Halperin, knew he didn't have to prove Lankford's absolute innocence. He only needed to plant a reasonable doubt in the minds of the jurors. Halperin's tactics. Attack the evidence gap, no body, no confirmed cause of death. Reinforce the accident story, Masumi died from a collision, and Lankford panicked, making poor choices. Discredit witnesses, the fisherman only saw a man at the cliff, not an actual crime. During prep, Halperin drilled Lankford to answer briefly, keep a calm demeanor, and avoid long silences that could betray him. Opening day, 2 opposing worlds. The courtroom was packed, media lenses aimed squarely at the defense table. Lankford wore a white shirt, blue tie, and neatly combed hair, but his eyes seemed lost. Masumi's family sat in the front row, holding each other in silence. The prosecutor opened with slow but certain words. Masumi Watanabe didn't disappear. She's dead. And the man sitting there is the one who took her life. The defense countered, like a wave breaking against rock. No one witnessed a murder. No one knows for certain what happened between Kirk and Masumi. Don't let speculation replace the truth. Evidence speaks. One by one, the prosecution presented blood samples matching Masumi's DNA, microscopic images of distinctive beach sand, the fisherman's account, and a recorded interrogation where Lankford said, "Didn't want this to happen." With each new exhibit, the jurors' eyes flicked toward Lankford, searching for the smallest reaction. A psychological chess match. The prosecution built a deadly chain of logic. Masumi vanished. Lankford was seen at the cliff. Her blood and belongings were found in his truck. His statements changed. He admitted dumping her body into the ocean. The defense struck back. That chain was built on assumptions, and assumptions can be wrong. Halperin pressed the point, fear makes people act stupid. It doesn't make them killers. A battle without an ending, yet. By the end of the first week of trial, the air inside the courtroom was thick with tension. The jury quietly scribbled notes. Both sides knew the fight wasn't just in the words spoken, it was in how each side steered the emotions of 12 people in the jury box. Outside the courthouse, waves still crashed against the cliff, the same cliff that might hold the final secret of Masumi Watanabe's fate. And the biggest question still hung in the air, could justice overcome the void left by a body forever lost? Part 5, Verdict of 12. By the third week of the trial, the air inside the Honolulu courtroom felt almost unbreathable. Each day had been a slow tightening of the rope, and now it was stretched to the breaking point. Prosecutor John Anderson rose from his seat and approached the jury box. His voice was low, deliberate, not the theatrical kind, but the kind that carries weight simply because it doesn't need to shout. Kirk Lankford let Masumi Watanabe's blood seep into the passenger seat of his truck. He hid her sandals beneath that same seat. He was seen standing at the cliff's edge, the kind of place no one stands without a dark reason. You may not have a body before you, but you have the truth. Each sentence was followed by a pause, as if he were placing heavy stones one by one into the juror's hands. When he sat down, the defense attorney, David Halperin, stood. His approach was different. He moved slowly, making eye contact with each of the 12 faces before him, searching for even a flicker of uncertainty. "This is not a movie," he began, "where every loose end gets tied up neatly in the final act. This is real life. Real life is full of holes, of unanswered questions. And in our justice system, those holes matter. Can you truly condemn a man when so much remains unknown?" He let the silence hang for a beat, as if daring the jurors to answer. When the jury retired to deliberate, the atmosphere in the courtroom shifted into something strange and hollow. The victim's family sat in the front row, hands clenched together, the mother staring straight ahead as if looking at something no one else could see. Lankford sat at the defense table, head bowed, fingers tapping a steady rhythm on his knee. He did not look toward the jury's empty seats. Outside, the Honolulu sky had turned a flat, sullen gray. Wind carried the smell of salt water into the hallways of the courthouse, a reminder of the ocean that had swallowed Masumi's body, if Lankford's account was to be believed. After more than 6 hours, the door to the jury room swung open. 12 figures filed back in, their expressions carefully neutral, the kind that reveal nothing until the words come out. The clerk asked the formal question, and the foreperson, a middle-aged woman with her hair pulled back tight, rose to her feet. "We, the jury, find the defendant, Kirk Lankford, guilty of murder in the first degree." A sharp sob broke from Masumi's sister, quickly muffled against her hands. Lankford closed his eyes for a long moment, then opened them again, his gaze fixed on some point far beyond the courtroom walls. The judge's voice was calm but implacable as he delivered the punishment, life in prison, with no possibility of parole for at least 20 years. The weight of the sentence seemed to hang in the air. For Masumi's family, it was justice of a kind, but it did not bring her back, nor did it answer the questions that had haunted them for more than a year. Outside the courthouse, reporters clustered around Prosecutor Anderson. Cameras flashed. He spoke only one sentence before walking away. "We did what we could. The rest is lost to the sea." Even with the conviction, the final hours of Masumi Watanabe's life remained an unanswered riddle. The cliffs of Oahu's north shore still stood against the wind, waves crashing endlessly below, as if guarding a secret they had no intention of giving back. In the files of Cold Blood, the case bears a single haunting note. Justice delivered, but the truth remains incomplete. In the end, Kirk Lankford was locked away, and the court declared justice served. But Masumi Watanabe's body was never found. Her final moments, her last words, her last breath, remain buried somewhere beneath the waves. And so, we're left with a question that echoes beyond this case. If the truth disappears with the victim, can justice ever be complete? From the cliffs of Oahu to the quiet courtroom where 12 strangers made their choice, this story reminds us that in some murders, the killer isn't the only one who hides the truth. Sometimes, the ocean itself keeps the final secret. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the shadows. This has been Cold Blood Files. Until next time, stay vigilant.